You want to build your family, but the path isn't simple. IVF fails, the idea of surrogacy or egg donation feels overwhelming, and you don't even know where to start. But what if instead of confusion and fear, you could move forward with confidence and even joy?
I felt like a failure. I feel like I can't do any of the
Mm,
things that women are supposed to do. Um, but I also was like determined to be a mom.
that's Christi. She's turned heartbreak into hope and built her family through surrogacy and egg donation.
With an egg donor, it may feel daunting in the beginning, but once you have your baby, I never think about that. I never look at her and think, well, she was a donor egg.
In this episode, Christy shares how she navigated the overwhelm, embraced the process, and discovered that surrogacy and egg donation don't just bring children into the world, they bring a bigger circle of love and lifelong friendship. I can't wait for you to hear Christy's story. Enjoy. Okay, take us back to the beginning when
Okay.
you first kind of realized that motherhood was going to include an egg donor and a surrogate. How did kind of that make
Well, the
you
surrogate came
feel? What was
first,
that like?
oddly,
There you go.
because we had been making embryos and, trucking along, but I just couldn't stay pregnant. So we
Mm-hmm.
just thought we were going to keep going and going. But we had like a trigger shot that failed. We had like a perfect cycle, and then no embryos came to fruition. And our
Mm.
doctor basically looked at us and was like, "Look, I know you don't want to hear this, but I think while you can still make embryos, you should do surrogacy." And so we were like, "What?" I mean, I didn't even. I guess I just thought we'd just keep doing it until it worked. And so we were like, "Okay." So we had. I felt like the bottom got dropped out, honestly, because I just hadn't prepared myself for what that step would be like. But I
Yeah.
like prayed specifically for like guidance and God winks. I was like, I just need to know that I'm going down the right path. Because some people were saying, like,
Mm.
well, you should keep trying, keep going, keep going. And like, how are you feeling? I was like, I just want to be a mom. I need to get to the next right place. And so it turned out, as you know, when you Google surrogacy, 1,000 websites come up. I still get ones from companies from like 5 years ago that are like, "Have you found a surrogate?" I'm like, "Oh, we're done with that." But yeah, and it felt very like, how do I choose? And so I had sent in like my application or whatever to several places, and then I kind of felt like I got to stop for a minute. Like I don't know what to do. There's some in New York. I
Mhm.
mean, there's some in Florida and California. I was like, I don't know what to do. And so then that was when Gail, is she still there?
Gail is not. She is
Okay.
off being a grandma. But yes,
Oh,
no, I
wonderful.
mean, I know it's so amazing. But yes, Gail is, I mean, she's just, I always describe her voice as like anytime you talk to her, it's like hearing a
Hmm.
hug.
Yes, it felt like that's so true. Um, so I had a Zoom call with her on like a Thursday, and my best
Mhm.
friend texted me and said, "I know you're looking at agencies. I know you're overwhelmed, but my sister knows somebody that works at an agency." And I was like, "Oh, great, because I know nobody." And so
Mhm.
I called her sister, who's like my sister, and she was like, "Her name's Gail. She works at this place. It's in Texas." I was like, "Oh, I have a meeting with her on Thursday." And she's like, "No way." And so I felt like that was a God wink that I was in the right place. And then
Mm.
um, we were assigned to Meg, who ended up being my friend from high school's college roommate. Never knew
This world is too
that.
small. Oh my
So small.
goodness.
She was like, "She's wonderful. She'll take great care of you." And and then we found our precious surrogate Debbie, actually, who was signed up through Surrogate Solutions. So she came, she got medically cleared. We were like so excited, like finally. So while she's getting all of her clearance and we're doing our evals, we were like, we'll do another retrieval cycle. She comes in, the doctor's about to start her on medicine. This is like one of those days, like I can't tell you what I ate for lunch yesterday, but I
Mhm.
remember this day from top to bottom. And the doctor came in and he was like, we'd had 8 embryos on day one, so we were so excited. This was like day 3, and he was
Mhm.
gonna just check everything, and he was real defeated. And I was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm really sad for my friend." I was like, "Oh, who's your friend?" He's like 75. I thought somebody had died. And he looked at me and I was like, "Oh, I'm your friend." And he was like, "Yeah, we we have one embryo left, and I don't think it's going to make it to day 5. And I mean,
Oh,
I felt
wow.
like the bottom dropped out. We were like expecting, we're about to start. I was crying. Debbie was crying. This is only our second time to meet. I immediately thought, well, she's not going to stay because she could help another family. Who knows how long it'll take us to find to be able to get an embryo. And
Hmm.
so we both left, and she's like, hey, I'm in this. Like, I will wait. And I was like, I don't want you to have to wait. I feel so bad. But we had like this 6-month window that I felt like we kind of agreed upon. So I was feeling frantic. Like, we finally found a good match. People had said it could take 6 months to a year to find a surrogate match. So I didn't want to lose her since it happened so fast. And so we did one more retrieval, had the same result. And we had been getting embryos for
Mm.
4 years. It was the craziest thing. And our doctor was like, egg donor. And I was like, no. I mean, I hadn't even thought that was an option.
Yeah.
So, Debbie waited, and I came home that night. I called Meg, and I was frantic, and I was like, I don't even know where to start with an egg donor. She was like, well, we have a sister agency. We got you. And I was like, oh, good. Because I had like on the way home looked at like, of course, if you Google egg donors, all of these huge banks, and it felt so out of control to me. And I thought you had to do a
Hmm.
frozen because I didn't know that there was an option to do a fresh cycle. So I was so relieved to know that like maybe they wouldn't be farmed out to hundreds and hundreds of people. Maybe she would. Maybe she'd do it for a million different families. No, we got really lucky. She only did it for us, and she doesn't want to do it again. But this felt more controlled. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, and I feel like you've had, I mean, just in this small, span of time, you keep using the phrase, you feel like, just it all just like dropped out from under you. Like the rug
mhm,
was just pulled out from under you and everything was just so overwhelming. And I think especially, I mean, first your doctor is like, says surrogacy and you're like, no, 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 we haven't even gone
mhm,
down that road. And then of course we go
mhm,
to Google and it gets scarier.
mhm,
And
mhm.
then now egg donation is on the
Right.
table. What, I think you have a lot of women especially really struggle with, so badly wanting to be a mom. And now these two key players in what, we think
Mhm,
are
mhm,
vital in creating that
mhm,
family are now totally out of your control. How are you
mhm.
handling all of that?
I felt like a failure. I felt like I can't do any of the
Mm,
things that women are supposed to do. Um, but I also was like determined to be a mom. That was the
yeah.
thing that I kept just saying. And my husband was like, we will be parents, we will, however. And we looked into adoption agencies, and that there was just long waits. And it had gone on for so long, and I was just so ready. And I'm a children's photographer, so I'm with kids every day and babies. And it was just getting to be the point where it was just like heartbreaking a little bit. Like I'd been strolling along, and I was just like, we got to do what we have to do. And my husband, luckily, was the most supportive. And, I couldn't have done it if he hadn't been totally on board. I mean, we had a day where we were sad, and he was more sad for me than he was for us. But, we just talked about this yesterday because I was telling him about this podcast, and I was like, imagine that we hadn't, Chelsea, the way we found Chelsea and the way that all worked was such a God thing. Imagine if we hadn't picked her and all those other embryos had taken, like we wouldn't have, our pride and joy, our little Nellie. And he was like, I can't even imagine. Like she's so perfect. And, so.
Yeah. I love that though, because I mean, spoiler alert, it all comes full circle and is beautiful and
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
But it's true going from, and I think it's great that you guys did have your time of grief while
Mm-hmm.
still moving forward. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
such a vital part of this process just as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Some people need to take
Yeah.
time off, and I understand why. They need to
Hmm.
just have a break. My personality is more like, okay, what are we going to do now? Like, I'm going to have a day, I'm going to feel sad. With every transfer, I was like, okay, give me the day. And then tomorrow, what's our next step? Because I knew we were going to be parents. And I was so just, okay, let's go on to the next thing. And when I look back at it, I'm like, gosh, we were like machines, you know? I mean,
But I mean, that's what makes every journey unique. And you did what was
Mhm.
right for you and
Mhm.
your family, which is
Mhm.
so perfect. Okay,
Mhm.
so you start working with with our egg donor program.
Mhm.
And I think what is so unique about your journey with Chelsea is you guys established like a relationship kind of before this whole like known donation was like a
I
thing.
know. I would have never thought I would have been open to that. Like my friends were like, "You're gonna meet her?" I was like, "Y'all, I don't know. She came on Christmas Eve to Dallas in a snowstorm and got her clearance for us so that we could keep our surrogate. She doesn't know me, and I just wanted to meet her. I just wanted to like hug her and say like, "Thank you. Oh my gosh." And I just I can't believe that it worked out. I mean, I still talk to her several times a week. And not about the kids. We're just talking as friends, checking in, sending pictures. You know,
Yeah.
it's been great. I'm so thankful. And now it feels like I can't I guess, as most people when you're going into the egg donation, you're thinking about, well, down the line, how am I going to explain it to them? And of course, I think that's just what moms think of. I
Hmm.
certainly did. And then I was like, you know what? That is so far down the line. Don't let it steal your joy from these little years worrying about that. But now I feel like I can say, mommy's tummy was broken. I have to explain the surrogacy side too, and, my eggs weren't working, but Aunt Chelsea, mommy's friend, had eggs to give and she helped me make and Chelsea was transactional about it enough to say, like, if you needed blood, if you needed bone marrow, if you needed something and I have it to give, I would give it to you. It doesn't feel like I'm giving over like myself. Now, she is emotionally attached to us, but not where I ever feel like she would be like, well, I was your mother to my child or something. So,
Right,
so I
right.
felt,
Well, and
and
I think that's I think that's a worry for a lot of people when it comes to this
mhm,
idea of known and, let me go back because I think there is a huge push for going about a known egg donor cycle because you do need information, particularly when it comes to
mhm,
medical records and things like that.
mhm,
But you guys went beyond that and have
mhm.
a relationship. Did you ever have a fear about like that line being blurred, or like what was that, as you were thinking about it when you even like
Yeah.
approached this idea of let's meet?
I thought we would meet and I would tell her thank you and that would be the end of it. Like we wouldn't exchange
Hmm.
numbers. We didn't know each other's last names. Like I didn't know her name until that day that I met her. Um,
Right.
but I can't describe it. It was like, I mean, I'm sure she told you, Katie left, and then we were like, "Do you want to keep talking?" And we stayed for like 6 hours at Starbucks and talked. All of our family was like, "Are you okay? Did you get kidnapped?" But we just like, I just felt like she was like me in certain ways, and I just liked her as a person, and I just felt, I don't
Hmm.
know, I just felt safe, and of course, she wasn't like, well, I want to keep seeing you and send me pictures. She never said anything like that, which I think made it
Hmm.
easier for me to trust it too. So I just reached out to her. I tried to send her things as thank yous, and I met her mom, who I love, and we still keep in touch.
Hmm.
And they're just like cheerleaders for me and for my kids. And I just think if two more people in the world love my children and love me, like, what harm is it? I don't
Hmm.
feel threatened by
Hmm.
her at all.
Well, so how did you kind of already mentioned you had some friends and people in your life that
Mhm.
were wide-eyed with this, wait, you're doing what
Mhm.
now?
Mhm.
How are you kind of handling that? Maybe I don't want to say judgment, but maybe there was
Mhm.
judgment.
I don't know. It had to have been Chelsea, I think. I don't know that I would have done it with anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also they trusted my judgment, and I just said, "You guys, like, you'll meet her one day and you'll understand." Like, it was all supposed to happen like this, and like, she's given me her eggs. Like, I I want to be in her life. I want her to know that we are her biggest cheerleaders. We want to be supportive of her. Um, she's a mom. She gets it. That part I think helped knowing that she had her own
Mm-hmm.
child. So I don't know, and her parents were so supportive of it and excited for her, excited for us, and gave me a sweet little, like her mom on the day of her second egg retrieval, because she did come back and do another round, because we only got one embryo with her first
Mhm.
round, which we knew we were taking a chance on an older donor because she was 30 or she was 29. And
Mhm.
our doctor said, she's an older donor. Are you sure you want to do this? And I had already decided, if it's not her, I'm not going to do it. Like, I just had this draw. There was a video of her, which really helped. And she came into Dallas to get the clearance. And the doctor's
Mhm.
wife, who works at the front, called me. She was like, "Where did you find this donor?" I was like, "Through Egg Donor Solutions." And she was like, "She is the best donor we have ever had here. She is not only polite and respectful and happy, but she is darling." And she was like, "I'm really sad that you don't know her
Mm.
because I think you would love her." And that kind of also made me feel like, okay, she knows me. Our nurses couldn't say much, but they were like, "You would love her. We loved her." And
Mm.
so then she had a great cycle. Like, she had 10 beautiful eggs. She retrieved 8. They all fertilized on the first day. And then at day 5, there was one embryo left. And we were disappointed because Debbie had offered to carry twins. She wanted to. And we were like, "Oh my gosh, this may be our only shot. So how wonderful." And so we were disappointed, but also ecstatic that we got one. We were just expecting more because it was a donor cycle. And we didn't test it. So it was fun to find out what we were having. And then after we were pregnant with Nellie, we were like, we tried another doctor. And she was like, "I want to try it again." And so she did. And then she had a totally different experience. And she got a little overstimulated, but she got like 5 other embryos. And then Debbie came back and wanted to carry twins, and we implanted 2 embryos, and now we have twins, which is crazy.
We'll get right back to the show, but I wanted to take a quick moment to speak directly to those of you dreaming of growing your family. For the past 18 years, we at Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions have had the privilege of walking alongside hopeful parents, guiding them through egg donation and surrogacy with empathy, expertise, and personal experience. Many of us on the team have been intended parents or surrogates or egg donors ourselves, so we understand just how important this journey is. Whether you're just starting to explore your options or ready to take the next step, we're here to help. You can schedule a free 15-minute call with our team at createahappyfamily.com to get your questions answered and see if we're the right fit for your journey. You don't have to figure this out alone. This is your invitation to learn more and take the next step toward the family you've been dreaming of. All right, let's get back to the show.
I don't know.
So crazy
Such a
and
miracle.
so beautiful. No, really. It's yes, it is. It's so beautiful. I think so one of the things that, again, I think just highlights how special this, trio
Mm-hmm.
is you guys, I mean, you guys did a maternity shoot together. So Debbie and Chelsea
Yes.
even, got to meet, which I mean
Yes.
is just,
Loved each
they
other.
are such beautiful images and they're so
Mm-hmm.
powerful. Can
Mm,
you
I
just kind of
know.
describe to me just how that day, just what that day meant to you?
It was really emotional, more than I thought it would be. I mean, I was so happy that they were getting to meet, but honestly, those two people are so selfless, obviously, from what they're
Mm.
doing, but they were so invested in my experience. And I'm sort of somebody that wants to take the back seat, like, "No, no, no, it's about you guys." But they were like, "No, no, 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 this is about you and celebrating this baby that's yours." And they are just, it was so fun. And Meg was
Yeah.
there, and um, Melissa was there, and it was so fun. We had the best
And I
coordinators ever.
Oh, the best. And I love that, from feeling, like you're, gonna miss out, for lack of a better
Mm-hmm.
phrase, on, certain parts of becoming a mother, to getting to have kind of that beautiful moment of, that
Mm-hmm.
maternity shoot and getting to,
Yeah.
highlight that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
beautiful.
was neat. Yeah, it was. Very thankful to have those, even to just like have a visual to explain to the kids, like, this is who helped create you, and you know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
very
How have
cool.
those relationships evolved over time? Because you've even said, oh gosh, yeah, Chelsea and I, talk to each
Yeah.
other a couple days a week and it's not even about the
Mm-hmm.
kids.
No, and Debbie and I talk a lot. I just texted with her yesterday. We send pictures of the kids and kind of keep up with, birthdays and holidays and um, I just they'll be in our lives forever. She drove down from Houston and came to Nellie's birthday party and um they're a part of our lives. And I think because we did it twice, I
Mhm.
really feel bonded to her family and her kids were some of the first ones to hold the babies and it was so sweet and yeah, we had a baby shower and she came and my family feels like she's part of our family.
That's perfect.
Hmm.
What helped you stay confident and proud of your journey, even if others didn't fully understand?
I was proud of my husband and I for not giving up, honestly, because I mean, financially it was a strain, and even emotionally it was a strain. And because you've been on a side of it, I felt like we couldn't plan for the future, even a month in advance, because of all the things that were so out of our control. And there were times where I was like, I can't live like this. Like I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm proud of our faith journey. It definitely brought us closer and brought our relationship with God closer. And I think I'm proud of us for kind of keeping the noise out and just keeping our eyes on the prize of knowing that we are going to be parents somehow, some way.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep the noise out.
Hmm. Very hard. Very hard. I was just going to say people getting pregnant around you and it coming so easy, and everybody's got opinions about go on vacation, eat this, do this, and
Mm,
everybody's journey is so different. And that it also taught me that, like, if somebody's talking about having a baby, I'm just like, go you, however you're doing it, we're praying for you because it's a lot no matter how you're doing it.
yeah, for sure. It's so funny. I I tell my kids, they've had aunts, get married and, they
Hmm.
kind of all follow up with the question, well, when are they having babies? And I look at them and
Yep.
I go, not the question to ask. Nope, none of your business.
But it's a
You
natural
have no
question. You do,
idea.
me too. I mean, it's true though. Or you want to say, are you going to have another one? That's something I would say
Hmm.
before this journey. And now I really try not to say that, even though you're just being kind. Nobody means anything by it. Like, you know, and also to just
Yeah.
not have a hardened heart about things because, my brother and sister in law got married, on birth control, weren't trying twice when we were trying to have a baby. It was really hard.
Hmm.
But I didn't want to take away the joy that those babies brought into my life, which was amazing, just because it wasn't happening for us. And that was hard, but I prayed to not have a hardened heart a lot, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. But I mean,
Hmm.
you're right. That part of things can be so difficult. And then whenever
Hmm.
you are on the road to having, your babies, and then you hear
Hmm.
noise about how you're doing it, it just nobody
Hmm.
can do anything right at this point.
Mm-mm. Totally. Totally. Everybody's got a judgment about something, and it is what it is. Like,
It's true. It's true.
yeah.
What do you wish more, women in particular, what do you wish more women, knew about using both an egg donor and a surrogate, having, now looking back on your own journey?
Hmm. I think just being open minded because honestly, I would have probably been judgmental about it before I did it and thought, why did that person keep trying another way? Why didn't they adopt? Or, you don't know until you're in it what you will do to have a family. And I think there's so much judgment also about fertility in general, especially from some Christian audiences and especially egg donation. And I'll never forget there was a podcast that I listened to that was a Christian podcast when I no longer listen to it, but she, I liked everything she said. Then she had an episode that was about people who did IVF, surrogacy, and they made it sound like it was the most cruel thing in the world, which everything can be. I'm
Mm.
not saying there aren't situations that are terrible for a surrogate, but I just was like, I can't let that in. Like I feel like we're in a safe space. I feel like our surrogate is treated well. She's doing this of her own accord. Chelsea was doing it of her own free will. And I had to kind of get past my own judgment about it. Like, people would say, "Do you ever worry about what she's eating? Or have you told her she's not going to have any fast food or she's going to exercise every day?" And I was like, okay, first of all, I don't do that. Second of all, I would never expect her to do something that I myself didn't do. And also, she's carrying my child. Like, it is a trust fall at the end of the day. You do have to have complete trust. But I would worry sometimes, like, what if she got in a car accident today? But guess what? Who could also get in a car accident? Things like that would come through my mind. But I never worried, is she taking care of herself or the baby? I knew she was. And if I had worried like that every day, it would have been a miserable experience. But instead, it was a great experience. And I just think it can be great if you'll let it be. I didn't I didn't feel sad that I wasn't pregnant once I got excited. I found other things to be excited about, and celebrating each little milestone that she had and going to the doctor's appointments and shopping and to find the joy where you can find the joy. And also with an egg donor, it may feel daunting in the beginning, but once you have your baby, I never think about that. I never look at her and think, well, she was a donor egg. Even though she doesn't really look like me. They all look just like their dad. Chelsea and I
They
joke, it
all
was like
do.
there was no donor. I was like, I hope somebody would look like you. I chose you for a reason. You're darling. She's like, maybe they will one day, but they don't right now. Sorry. I sent her a picture the other day. I was like, I think, look at this little smirk. I think this is your smirk. And she was like, I don't see it. Maybe. I was like, but I love her. So I would love for my kids to get some wonderful attribute of hers. Um, but I think just realizing, however you become a mom, if it's not your genes, if it's not your body, I felt bonded with them the second I laid eyes on them. And I don't know that that's the case for everybody, but I was not worried about the bonding. I really knew if a baby got dropped on my front porch, I would bring that baby in and never ask a question, um, I don't know, just to be open, I guess, and now I get to share it with people who have maybe been struggling and feel like, oh, I didn't know that you did that. That seems so kooky. Oh, you did it. You're sort of normal. Okay. And then since then, I've like people have heard my story and have been like, oh, did you know that our babies were conceived with sperm donors or egg donors? Been photographing their family for years, never knew. And it's like a kindred spirit. We're like, really? I'm like, yeah. And most of them are a few years ahead of me in the process. So I'm like, share tips when y'all start talking about how they were made and things, you know, what they're receptive to, what ages do you start talking about things. So I'm thankful to have those people too.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful that there's I mean, I always say I feel like this community is the biggest community that nobody knows that they're a part of.
Totally.
And it's it's beautiful
Hmm.
whenever everybody starts sharing and then
Hmm.
you realize like I mean, my neighbor two doors down, we have the
Yeah.
same story. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's
It's
beautiful.
very cool. Hmm.
What do you want your children to know about Chelsea and Debbie and the role that they played in bringing them into the world?
I am like excited to tell them about them because I
Mm.
think, all kids are wanted, but I just want them to know how badly they were wanted. And I want them to know that God was in every step of it and that we were just on the road to whatever he was going to put in our path. And I just want them to know that they are loved and loved by so many people that helped create them and that their genetics don't determine their parents. And you know, I I did never think that. I always thought I could adopt and it would be fine, but I really know that now. I know that as their parent, like no part of me is like they're not 100% my babies. So I can't wait to tell them. They're gonna have a cool story to share.
Yeah, and I mean it's beautiful that it's a story of celebration, and like you said, just so
Mhm.
much love, and so
Mhm.
many people that, I mean, they were
Mhm.
so wanted. Who wouldn't want to celebrate
Mhm.
that?
When we started surrogacy, I was more worried about my friends' kids and my nieces and nephews. Like, how were they going to understand? Because some of them were little about me not carrying the child, but we're having a baby. I didn't want to confuse them. And a friend of mine had said, we just explained it very simply. Um, and my best friend explained it to her kids, where she said, imagine we're making cookies and our oven breaks, and we take the cookies over to Miss Barbara's, their neighbor, and then she brings the cookies back over when they're done. And are they Miss Barbara's cookies or are they our cookies? And they were like, there are cookies. And she was like, yeah, that's how it is. And the kids never asked a question. They were like, oh, cool. And then when they kind of, the older one understood it. His friend was over and he was like, hey, Cece, tell him about that lady that's like carrying the baby for you. Like, tell him. He thought it was so cool. So, kids are resilient. They don't really care that much. They're excited there was a baby coming.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. I always say, I feel like we as grown-ups, we make it way more complicated than it needs to be, and
Totally.
these kids are just like totally roll with it.
Mhm. Mhm. And I was worried about Debbie's kids. I was like, do they understand? Because her first journey, they were very young. And the second journey, they
Mhm.
were really excited. They were covering the baby with blankets and saying, your mommy. And they were so sweet. They were like, your mommy, can't wait to meet you. They understood it. And I was like, are they going to be sad? She was like, they're not. We talk about it a lot. And I was worried about them.
Yeah. Oh,
How
but
did
you're so
did you,
right.
did you have
Oh,
kids
go ahead.
when you did it?
Yes. So I had, when I was a surrogate, I had three kids and still have three kids. And they were oh 4, and I I remember I asked my intended mom for my first journey, could we, because I had a C-section, and I said, could we schedule the C-section the next day than what it was originally, because it was originally scheduled on my daughter's kindergarten graduation. And she was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem.
I love it. I love it.
No,
So
it
what
was
did your
so
kids
great.
think?
That's Miss Pam and Mr. Tim's, babies. And they were so good about, oh my gosh, I'll never forget it. It's just locked in, where the kids came to see me in the hospital, and they let them hold them, and it was Pam who was like, you guys are their first friends. And I just
Oh,
remember
that's
that was just,
sweet.
it was so touching. It was so
Oh,
touching.
I
And
love
yeah,
that.
it was just, that's what you did. Like, this
Mhm.
is this is just what you do.
Mhm.
My eldest is so funny because, I had twins. And so she would never ask anybody, are you having a boy or a girl? She would ask, are you having one or two? And then she started asking, well, are they yours? So it just was like, it's just what you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Everybody's having somebody else's baby. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's just what you
That's sweet.
do.
So sweet.
For, you kind of have already said it, you never worried about that connection. But what words of encouragement would you give to, maybe day one Christy, or just any mom out there who's maybe struggling with this, fear or worry or stigma that, can be a
Mhm.
part of this process, when it and just that fear with not having that connection.
Mhm. Gosh, it's like it seems so long ago and it really wasn't. Now that you're a client said to me one time she had two sets of twins and she had done several rounds of IVF and we were right in the thick of it. And she was like, somebody told me to just keep saying, I'm going to be a mother. I am going to be a mother, and say it over and over. And I was like, okay. And then I thought about it one day and I was like, okay. And years later I've texted with her and said, like, you don't understand how those words really meant a lot, because after every failed attempt, you do feel left behind. You feel like it's not going to happen and I need to get right with myself about it not happening. But I just didn't let myself go there. I was just like, I'm going to be a mother somehow, some way. Keep your head down and just try against all odds to have hope and keep going. Just keep going. My family is very much like, pull your bootstraps up. You can do this. Let's feel sad for a minute, but we're moving on. And that really helped. They were not insensitive in any way, but it did help me to just Giving up wasn't an option. And that might be for someone. There might be an end of the line that you just can't do it anymore. And I completely understand that too. But, um, and just be open to all the possibilities because there are so many more than there used to be. I have older friends that don't have kids at all. And they were like, if it was 20 years later, we would have had other options. So
Mhm.
just so grateful that there are people like that, you guys, that you know, will give up your bodies and your time and everything. I was so worried also because I was worried like something was going to happen to Debbie like in the delivery, and that like kind of consumed me in the beginning. I was less worried about the baby and more worried about her. Like how's this going to affect her family? I know we have insurance and all that, but I was more worried about the emotional part of it, and
Mhm.
I had to get past that because you can't live like that. But you just realize they're not just giving up their bodies, they're taking a chance. There's a lot of things that can go wrong during, a delivery for anybody. So it's a miracle that anyone volunteers to do it, honestly.
I totally hear you. I think one of the things that I keep hearing from you is there are those points of worry and
Mm-hmm.
fear, but then you keep reminding yourself of the joy and the potential
Mm-hmm.
joy
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
determination.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you said it so beautifully. This is like a trust fall.
Mm-hmm.
And
So is.
I mean, it is. It
Mm-hmm.
so is. And I think that is, again, I feel like all of the stars aligned for you all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just you all that have that experience. It
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
is this beautiful journey to parenthood, just one more way to become
Mm-hmm.
a mom.
Mm-hmm. And when the journey was taking longer and longer, and I just could not see the forest to the trees, I used to say, well, this is going to be our last Christmas without a baby because I thought it can't take a whole nother year. That would be ridiculous. And then a year would pass, and I started to change the way I was talking to myself and to other people about it. I was saying, we get to go on vacation. We're not pregnant right now. We get to go on vacation. So it's our fourth anniversary. Let's go enjoy this. Or this is my last, year to be with my nephew. I'm so excited. This is a year all about his Christmas, and next year there's going to be a baby here. Instead of feeling the negative, because I did that in the beginning, I was so sad that I hadn't gotten to experience it. And then even when Debbie was pregnant with the twins, I was like much more trusting, but I was like, this is our last summer with just her. So everything feels so much more joyous, and there's just so much gratitude in everything you get to do. As you know, when you have a child, it's going to be great. I just want to tell people, like, hang on, it'll happen. I've been where you are. It is so defeating.
It is. It can be.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
but there is joy. There is joy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well,
Thank you.
Christy, thank you so much for just being vulnerable with us, and going
Yeah.
going back in time with us, and sharing your beautiful story. I have one
Thank
last
you.
question for you.
Yeah.
You've seen me just, it's a fun one. Coffee and I have a
Mhm.
very codependent relationship on coffee, and
Mhm.
so I always love to ask the question, what filled your cup today, literally or figuratively? What has been the
Mhm.
thing that has filled your cup?
Well, I've been working out of town, and this morning I got to get up with my babies because I got home like at midnight last night, and seeing their sweet little faces, they didn't know I was going to wake them up, and them all saying, "Mommy, you're home," and just being happy. And so just the morning with them, that sweet, just babies ready to get up out of bed, and it was just a sweet start to my morning, even though I was exhausted. And I always think about that, like, oh, the day's been long, and then but the next morning, then you see their faces and you're like, I forgot that that day was so hard. So, morning faces.
Morning faces, that those first little hours before everything just comes
Oh,
at
and then
you,
it
they're
went
just so
downhill from there, but
precious.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Now we have to
Yeah.
brush our teeth. Now we have to, yeah,
Uh-huh.
uh-huh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh. You know.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. I
Thank
love it so much.
you.
Well, really, Christy, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing.
It
And
was so fun.
I just
You made it
Yes.
so
No,
easy.
really. Thank you.